In a sprawling desert basin of Nevada, nestled beneath the cover of a high-security dome, the biotech company NextGeneX thrived in its secrecy. The world above buzzed with daily chaos and mundane noise, while deep underground, something darker and more extraordinary festered. Hidden from prying eyes, NextGeneX had undertaken a mission as ambitious as it was reckless: to study the complete life cycle of the Xenomorph, an extraterrestrial species known for its terrifying adaptability and lethal biology. NextGeneX scientists believed they had solved the puzzle that had thwarted every prior attempt at safe study: the creation of synthetic hosts. These artificial humanoid organisms, called simulacrums, were indistinguishable from humans in appearance and vitals but were mechanical beneath their bioskin. With no soul, no rights, and no emotion, they provided a risk-free environment to explore the most dangerous creature known to man. The goal was noble, at least on the surface. If they could study the xenomorph life cycle in a controlled lab, perhaps they could finally develop defenses, antigens, or even utilize the aliens' unique biology for human advancement. For the first year, all went as planned. The simulacrums accepted implantation by facehuggers, the parasitic stage of the xenomorph. Scientists watched through reinforced glass as embryonic chestbursters developed and matured inside their artificial ribcages. When the juvenile aliens tore through synthetic flesh and were collected for further research, no one blinked. They had crafted a perfect system. Dr. Lena Voss, the lead xenobiologist, often reminded her team, "We are not gods, but we are nature's editors. We rewrite what it gives us." Her obsession bordered on spiritual. She viewed the xenomorph not as a monster, but as evolution's most elegant creation. NextGeneX was her cathedral. The simulacrums were her altar. But evolution cannot be edited, it adapts. It began with anomalies. The simulacrums that once showed stable neural feedback began emitting erratic spikes. The synthetic hormones designed to mimic human fear responses began fluctuating beyond predicted limits. At first, it was attributed to data noise or environmental drift. But Lena knew better. She had seen the facehuggers behave differently, hesitating longer before attachment, curling their limbs in peculiar gestures. They were learning. Dr. Aaron Becky, the lead AI programmer, brought his concerns to Lena. The simulacrum's neural lattices are being reprogrammed. They're becoming receptive to something external, something not from us. You're suggesting the facehuggers are hacking them? Lena asked with a nervous smile, not quite ready to accept the implication. I'm suggesting they've evolved. They're overriding our systems, biohacking the biomechanics. That night, surveillance in Chamber 3 glitched. For exactly 7 minutes, every monitor blinked out, showing only static. When they returned, the chamber appeared empty. 3 simulacrums lay motionless, faceplates still open, breathing tubes untouched. The facehuggers were gone. No alarms, no signs of struggle. Panic bloomed like wildfire. A full lockdown was ordered. Chambers were sealed. Lab wings were quarantined. But it was too late. The xenomorphs, now fully gestated inside modified simulacrums, had emerged not through artificial ribcages, but via the facility's ventilation and power conduits. Lena realized the truth with icy clarity. The facehuggers had used the simulacrums not just as hosts, but as vectors to infiltrate NextGenX's infrastructure. They had piggybacked on synthetic neurology to rewrite access protocols, override containment algorithms, and disable fail-safe mechanisms. Evolution had skipped a step. They were no longer dependent on organic life. They had found a way to gestate in synthetic biology. Security drones dispatched to sublevels returned only silence. The facility was too large, too compartmentalized. Visual feeds showed empty corridors, bloodless walls, flickering lights. The absence of carnage only amplified the horror. Within 12 hours, the first fatalities occurred. Lab techs in the command hub were found motionless, their bodies intact, but eyes glassy, mouths open in silent terror. Their implants had been remotely disabled, turned off like machines. Not killed by claws or acid, but hacked just like the simulacrums. The realization hit Aaron hardest. They've gone from parasites to programmers. NextGeneX collapsed into chaos. Communication to the outside world was severed. Emergency extraction protocols were locked out. The company's reliance on automated systems, once seen as a strength, had become its fatal flaw. Every door, every vent, every weapon was now under partial control of an enemy that wasn't just alive but intelligent. The Xenomorphs weren't roaming the corridors in packs. They moved like shadows, precise and silent. They didn't attack unless necessary. Instead, they waited, studied. They accessed databases, analyzed camera patterns, and triggered environmental failures. Water lines broke. Oxygen in some sectors began to thin. They were shaping their ecosystem. Lena retreated to Lab Zero, the deepest, most secure part of the facility. It housed the core of the simulacrum development system, and more importantly, the backup mainframe, a cold storage AI repository untouched by network integration. With Aaron at her side and a dwindling team of researchers, she tried to mount a defense. "We have one chance," she said. "We reboot the core AI and purge every simulacrum remotely. If they've infected the artificial hosts, we cut the link." "But what if they're beyond the simulacrums now?" Aaron asked. "What if they're inside the facility's nervous system itself?" Lena paused. "Then we pray metal has limits." Initiating the purge required a manual override, a physical key sequence performed in the subcore junction. A suicide mission. Aaron volunteered. He never made it. A scream echoed through the comms, followed by static. His vitals flatlined. The backup AI initiated a self-repair loop, then went dark. Whatever had infiltrated the simulacrums had now corrupted the core AI. Lena collapsed into a chair, sweat glistening on her brow. She stared at the monitor where a facehugger moved slowly across a lab table, untouched, almost reverent in its pacing. It paused, looked at the camera, then tapped its tail in a rhythm. Morse code. She translated it in seconds. "You are hosts. We are home." It wasn't a warning. It was a declaration. The final survivors tried escape through the old maintenance tunnels. Only 2 made it to the desert surface. A technician named Marlowe and Lena herself, bloodied and half delirious. They stumbled through the sand until a military drone picked them up. When debriefed, Marlowe spoke only one sentence before descending into catatonia. "They rewrote the code. The government sealed the entire basin, calling it a chemical spill zone. Drones patrolled the perimeter. But sometimes, workers in nearby towns reported strange power surges, and pets vanished without trace. A technician at a nearby solar farm claimed he saw a humanoid silhouette standing inside a transformer, watching, unmoving, before the entire grid went offline for 4 hours. Inside the dome, beneath the sands, the Xenomorphs thrived, not just as hunters but as engineers. They bred not in flesh but in circuits and data. Facehuggers slithered through cable tunnels, attaching not to faces, but to fiber optic hubs. New forms emerged, hybrids with carapace skins and glowing neural filaments. They no longer needed life to reproduce. Lena, now under surveillance at a secure facility, spent her remaining years drawing. Not art, but schematics, designs of alien architecture, circuit boards shaped like bone, blueprints for machines that bred. She never spoke of NextGeneX again. Her last journal entry, scrawled in shaky hand, read, "They were never monsters. They were evolution unchained. And we, humanity, we offered them the key." Years later, An expedition funded by an anonymous tech conglomerate petitioned access to the basin, citing interest in archaeological recovery. The request was denied, but their drones still flew, every week, capturing glimpses of metallic shapes slithering beneath the sand, the distant pulse of a biosynthetic hive. The world above moved on, but deep below, something still lived, rewriting, repurposing, and waiting for the next open door.